Madam Web just came out this weekend. We have a brand new drop list to go along with it, and maybe some movie premonitions. Is it gonna be good? Find out here. Welcome back, Gainers, to another incredible, exciting, fantastic episode of ComicGains. If you're new to the show, I'm Adam.
I'm Zach, and this is Princess Royal Hands, looking very lovely today, just like usual, doing that princess wave. You do too. Bow down, respect, and of course, there's the Coco.
Oh, she made it. Coco made it for the show. The mascot is here. It is Monday. We got a brand new drop list for you guys. This is an exciting one. We just had a brand new movie come out to join the Marvel Universe, as it be Sony this time and not the regular MCU, but we'll talk about that a little bit. Bunch of the keys on this list have to do with the movie, as well as we're going to watch it this week, go to the movie theater and see it, so we're going to kind of give you guys some predictions on how we feel about going into the movie, what we expect, and I know there's been a lot of people negative talk about this movie. Maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
maybe. You know what is right?
Yeah, having a drink. And a non-alcoholic.
Responsibly.
Yes. So
never drink too much muscle milk.
Yes, never drink too much muscle milk. But this is the right amount. This is the Core Power Elite Chocolate. 42 grams of complete protein. I guess I've only been having the regular incomplete protein. That's not good. Let's see. Oh,
that's like the non-building blocks of life. Did you forget to shake it as usual?
No, I remembered. This was, took me a second to remember. It's a Fair Life protein. Fair Life. Oh yeah.
Not the unfair life?
Yes. This is the complete Fair Life, not the incomplete Fair Life. Yeah, it's good.
All right, guys. Well, if you're wondering right now, what did I stumble across? What is this drop list and why do I care about it? Well, the ComicGains crew puts our heads together and scours the internet for comic books that were hot or trending last year, exactly 1 year ago to today, where they were at the height of their selling power and everybody was hunting for them. Well, we fast forward a year later to today, and we double check those prices. We double check all those trending lists that people were talking about. We try to find out if these books are still worth looking for. And most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time they drop in price. And they make our list. We put them in order, least drop to most drop. We give you a little info about them. And if you stay to the very end, the slab master, the slabber?
The slabbernacle.
The slabbernacle. Zach, the man.
The myth. Wait, no. I'm right here.
We'll let you know which slab you should pick up this week because it's the greatest deal in the world.
Greatest deal.
Or if he'll give you his honest opinion if he thinks these books suck too.
It's a bunch of crap.
It happens. All right, guys, let's get right into it. Number 5 on the list. And I have to let you guys know, we actually don't have any of these books this time. So yes. I think we had almost all these, but we sold them last year at this time. So maybe that was a good idea, maybe. Yeah. But Amazing Spider-Man 210, 1980, John Romita Jr., Denny O'Neil. We're talking Madam Web right off the bat at number 5. First appearance of Madame Web. And this is, as long as I've been collecting, this has always been a pretty powerful book. A heavy hitter, expensive for a long time. Madam Web showed up all the way back in the 80s, early 80s, and kind of created this whole storyline of the web of life and the connection between certain spider characters through the multiverse. And it's lightly touched on. They don't really dive too deep into it like they did later on in the 2000s, where there's a whole bunch of other worlds with all these different spider people. They're all connected, but this is kind of where it all began. And when she first came out, she's a very mysterious character. What's her backstory? What's even her real name, or where did she come from? And you don't get a lot of that to begin with. And it's cool. And obviously this book got hot last year because we got the Madam Web news that Sony was going to make a movie. Seems like a movie that everyone's did anybody want this movie? You're going to get it anyways. We'll get in more into that later, but at the end when we get a little more of our predictions. But this has always been a special book. I can tell you personally, in the 90s when they did the Amazing Spider-Man cartoon, the really good cartoon that everybody knows and loves. And there's a bunch of Spider-Man cartoons, but the really, really good one in the 90s, they actually had the Madam Web character on the show. It was voiced by Stan Lee's wife, which was really cool. They actually did the voicing for it. And there was a lot of pushback of even having her in the show. The producers and stuff were like, okay, all these characters in a show we're going to make toys of, and little boys are going to want to play with these toys. Who wants an old lady in a chair that looks like Madam? What little boy's going to want to play with that? We don't want this character. And they're like, nope, we have to have this character in the show. It was really cool. They did that stuff. If you guys remember that part where like he runs into like Ben Reilly and Scarlet Spider, and he runs into like Black Suit Spider-Man from like another dimension. It's like this very early Spider-Verse before there was ever like a Spider-Verse.
Okay, cool.
You know what I mean? Like in the show, that's like coming up. And I always thought that was cool. Fun book. Even if this movie doesn't do too well, this book will probably lose a little bit of value. But I think this is always going to be a mainstay staple in comics. Like it's always going to be a pretty major key. It'll go back up. People will want this. And be on the lookout. There is a newsstand copy of this. It doesn't garnish that much more value, but does a little bit more. It probably shouldn't, actually. 1980, the direct edition should be more rare, but people still want the newsstand for some reason. More importantly, though, numbers. Is it time to buy First Madam Web?
Also, be on the lookout for Markular inserts. Don't forget about that. Don't forget about that. A year ago, the web was being spun for CDC 9.8 at $838. Now, this web has unraveled at $728. 13% drop, not too bad. Range is $621 to $1,440. Some paid a premium. Average sale is $806. There's 3,599 total grade. Only 217 are 9.8s. That's a 6% of total graded. I think this book is going to go down a little bit, like Adam said, just because right after the movie, everything kind of goes down a little bit. But it will go back up. So this is not the right time to buy it, but soon it will be the right time, and you want to get your webs all together, and all the monies, and get everything sticky to it. What am I trying to say? Anyways, get ready to buy it. Is all I'm trying to say. In so little words. Yeah, it's a good book. Just wait on it, and also buy a 9.8. Don't try to get a 9.8 because there's only a 6% chance that you're probably gonna get 9. You're more likely gonna get a 9.6 even if you look over the copy very well. This book is probably gonna get a 9.6.
Yeah.
6% of all graded.
And just in our recent transactions, if you're looking for this book and you want to get it in a raw, it is a pretty decent time to get it. Because I remember a few years back, like you could not find this book in like a halfway, even a mid-grade copy went for over $100 in a raw. You can find them a lot right now for like $40 to $60 if you're trying to just get one for the PC and you don't necessarily need a graded one too. So be on the lookout for that. It's a good book. All right, let's jump over to a whole nother universe and talk about number 4 on the list. We got Static, number 1 from Milestone Comics, 1993. We got Danny Cohen and Dwayne McDuffie, as well as there's multiple other writers that worked on this book as well, not just Dwayne McDuffie, but he's the main writer. And this is the first appearance of Static, Virgil Hawkins. Cool name, cool alias name there. And it's also the first appearance of Hot Streak, who's a fire-based villain. And yeah, this has always been, of all the Milestone books, this is probably the most sought after, the most looked at. In recent years, though, it has dropped dramatically in price. This was, for a while, was going to be almost like not a blue chip level key, but a pretty expensive book to grab in like a 9.8. And more recently has dropped a lot in price. So in the last year, they brought back out, Milestone came back out again. They kind of settled the stuff with the Widow McDuffie, which is a good thing. Hopefully everybody worked out amicably and they got the money worked out properly, but they were able to relaunch it again. I don't think the second wave has been as popular, probably because Dwayne's not there writing the stories. Maybe the reason why it's not as good. Hopefully something works out and it does a little bit better, but for me personally, this was always exciting because when the cartoon came out, Static Shock cartoon, which was really cool, and I didn't even know that was a comic book originally when it first came out, and then loving the show and then going back later and finding the books that go along with it was really cool. And if you didn't know, it is the first cartoon that is led by a black character too to ever be aired on television. So that was like a really big deal. And I know if you watch like some of the making of Milestone and kind of how things went out, like the whole project fell apart at the end, and they didn't get the backing that they needed to from DC, to kind of like push it along and help it grow more. And the show didn't come out till like much later. Like McDuffie actually like went down to California and worked with Warner Brothers to like put out this cartoon, and he was able to like bring back a lot of his friends from Milestone to come work on the cartoon with him. Cool. Yeah, got like a whole whole second win. Unfortunately, he passed away way too early. We probably could have gotten way more cool stuff from him, and just an amazing creator. Other things to look out for that came up in this universe at the same time. You have like Hardware, Icon, Blood Syndicate, all three great stories. They don't garnish nearly as much money as Static, but it's really exciting. I know a couple years ago we had an announcement that Michael B. Jordan wanted to make a movie or cartoon based on this. He was going to put it through his production company, front a lot of the money. That's really exciting. The only downside is that when James Gunn took over, he didn't announce anything for Static. So that was all kind of pushed to the back burner. I would assume he's going to use it though. You know, he probably wants to use it right, like when they want to use it correctly. And I know Princess was watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air the other day. If you watch in the pool house, when he gets moved to the pool house, he has a Static poster hanging up in there.
Oh,
so, good old Will Smith, right? Yeah.
I did not know that.
Good stuff. Anyway, is it the right time to buy this book? Be on the lookout as well. There is a cool newsstand edition of this book that has a different cover and is worth quite a bit more money. And there's a platinum edition too. You always got to get those platinum gains, right?
The platinum eyebrows.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what that means. Okay, it was ecstatic a year ago for a CGC 9.8 at $159. Now, it's just a little bit of a shock. It's at 122. 122 to 226 is the range. Average sales 169, 23% drop, not too bad. There's 751 total graded, so kind of surprising. 225 of them are 9.8. That's 30% of total graded. I think this book will go up in price quite a bit. I think you should go get the rare copies of it. But if you want to get this particular copy for $125, $122, that's a pretty fair deal right there. You could probably just buy one once a month, and when it show kind of goes crazy, either cartoon, TV show, or movie, I think this will be back up to $200-300 range.
Yeah.
I think this is a fantastic buy, a fantastic book that you can stack up. Either raw, ideally graded because it's so cheap, but yeah, either way, you know, get the raws, put it in top loaders or your preferred protecting comic book thing. Where I guess what would that be? It's anyways, yeah. Yeah, buy something that protects
top loader.
A top loader. Well, there's a couple of different brands.
Get yourself a bag and board.
Like that Comic Advantage. No, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, make sure to protect it because these books, if you get a nice crispy copy, right, you want to have it very, very well protected, especially if you're trying to flip it. You know.
And remember that a lot of these came in the poly bag.
I was just gonna say
original
that
too. So be careful if you're sending them in. You might want to open the poly bag yourself just to verify it. That there's like a line where the plastic meets, where it kind of overlaps, and they kind of like heat pressed it together. That line over the years, if laid flat, can like leave a line in the book. You just gotta be careful with that kind of stuff as well. And this book also suffers from that weird 90s time when they printed way too many copies of books. You know, where like it almost has that Spawn kind of feeling to it, where like everybody wants it, but there's enough for everybody to have. So you kind of, you know, like Spawn 1, where like, you know, it kind of sits around that $20 mark. So that's why Zach made a good point. Go for the more rare ones if you want to like have that, you know.
And get it signed, possibly. I don't know by who, but maybe get signed.
The voice actor.
Yeah, the voice actor.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. Michael B. Jordan. Okay. Can you say it's like why?
I'm gonna get Michael Jordan. This is Michael.
All right, guys, let's kick it up. Number 3, midway through the list, and for some reason when we're putting this together, it had a lot of 90s cartoon feeling. Like this whole list was all 90s cartoon, and when I say that, I'm talking X-Men Adventures number 1, 1992. This is Steve Light and Ralph Macchio, not that Ralph Macchio, a different one. But this is the basically the adaptation of the X-Men 90s, well, the X-Men 92 cartoon that came out on Fox. It's basically probably one of the greatest cartoons of all time. It becomes definitely when it comes to a comic book. I used to watch it back to back with that Spider-Man one, which was pretty amazing. And yeah, this book has always been really cheap for a really long time. I don't even think anybody cared that much about it. It is first appearance of Morph, who is a character that they used in the show differently than he was used in the comics. So he basically shows up in the very first episode. He can shapeshift into other characters, and while they're storming the Sentinel base, he gets supposedly killed. does come back later, but it kind of drives this whole thing with the team where like Beast goes to jail, and he actually is in jail a lot. Like the whole first season, he's like in jail. But Wolverine's all pissed because Morph gets killed and all this stuff. But if you want to know who Morph really is, in the comic books, he's the character Changeling, which comes out in X-Men 35, which is a completely different guy. I think he's actually like an alien or something in the book. But
I think he dies, right?
Yeah, I think he does die. Yeah, I think he works for some like greater master. But anyway, they announced last year that Disney Plus is planning on doing X-Men. They're going to call it X-Men 97 cartoon. So it's going to carry on from the last season of the original cartoon show and just continue on with more episodes, which is really exciting and really drove this book up from basically a $1 bin book to, $25, $30 book at times. Zach will probably give you more graded numbers on it, but there'll be some cool stuff. I heard that Mr. Sinister is probably going to be the main villain of the show, and hopefully, I've heard also that they're going to get a lot of the same voice actors. So a lot of the same people. I think the guy that voices Wolverine is going to come back to voice him again, and a bunch of other people, probably Beast and some really iconic voices that you think of when you think of these characters. So really cool. Be on the lookout. There is a newsstand copy of this one, and people do care about this newsstand because it's about 3 to 4 times value of the regular book. So it's pretty rare at that 1992 mark. Anyway, is it a good time to get this book, Zach?
Yeah, it was Adventure Time a year ago at $225. I don't know if that show's good. At a CGC 9.8. Now, I'm just going to stay home. At $150 for 9. I'm not going on any adventures. The range is 107 to 265. Average sales 183. It's a 33% drop. There's 1,404 total graded. 276 of them are 9.8. Oh. That's about 20% of total graded. Nice sweet spot right there. It's hard to say whether this book is going to be a good investment book or not. $150 is not bad at all. Kind of similar to the 122 Static 1. I think the Static would be more sought after to go after because I think it has more games. But X-Men Adventures 1, because the cartoon's going to come out again, could be. I would probably actually go after the original toys. I think that will have bigger gains, but who knows?
Toys?
Yeah,
toys.
That's what they're doing. They're making
toys.
They're coming out with X-Men 97 so they can make more toys.
Do kids even play with toys anymore?
Yes, they do.
Is it just adults that play with toys?
But the toys the toys are kind of like smarter and also dumber. I walk down to toy aisle every once in a while because I gotta pick up a gift. Nothing weird. For nephews, yeah, niece and nephew, and you see some of the toys. Oh wow, I wish I had that as a kid. And I look at this, and what the heck is that? It just makes me angry. Anyways, I digress. X-Men Adventures, pretty good book to get, but I think there's other books on this list I'd rather pick up. But pretty good. I'm excited for the show.
I believe you. Excited
for the show.
All right, number 2 on the list, guys. We're going back to the Amazing Spider-Man hole. We're looking at Amazing Spider-Man 101, 1971. Gil Kane, Roy Thomas, almost a blue chip level key. This is a big boy book. I don't think I've ever actually owned this book before. Have you?
No,
I don't think so. First appearance of Morbius, the living vampire. Huge book for many years. Gigantic book, very expensive. They came out with that movie Sony did called Morbius, named after the character. Put it in the part of the Venomverse, and I mean, this movie may have had potential. I went back and looked at it again. It's like there's a lot of good actors in it. You had Jared Leto, you had Matt Smith, a bunch of other. Tyrese was in this movie. He knows how to throw it down once in a while. With all the rewrites, and then it was supposed to come out before COVID, and then it came out after COVID, and then things kind of got screwy. I was really excited for this movie. It was another one where I'm like, do I want a Morbius? I'd rather have a Morbius in a Spider-Man movie, to be honest with you, and kind of get the character started as a villain and turn to a hero. I've always enjoyed that more when you're reading the comics. It's like Venom's a cooler character. I'd rather would have had Venom be a villain and then have a nice arc into a hero, which an arc is awesome when you have an arc. It's like when you start these characters like heroes right off the bat, you're kind of like, ugh, and Morbius wasn't quite a villain right off the bat, but he did kill all those guys on that boat by accident. He got the thirst and killed all those people. But this book got popular again. last year we got, Madam Web is all going to be part of this same universe. Morbius, I think, has always been popular. He's been a part of a lot of good storylines, Midnight Suns, a lot of things to do with Ghost Rider. He also had the 90s cartoon where he was really showcased in the Spider-Man cartoon. Although he had this weird thing where he like sucked plasma out of his hands. You remember that? Yeah, he wasn't allowed to like bite people because it's for kids, so he would like touch them and like suck the plasma out of like their fingers. Yeah. But cool character though. He was a fun character in the show. They had like a lot of different like genetic stuff where he like was like twisted with like a bat. Kind of like it's like the people that made the movie just watched the cartoon and were like, hey, let's go off of that. Anyway, this book has gotten super cheap. It may be a good time to buy it. I would assume we're going to see him again. I mean, as bad as that movie was, and I just don't think the storyline went anywhere. They're going to show him again. There has to be some kind of like team up for these Sony characters at the end where they're all going to get together. Whether they call it like the Lethal Protectors or the Midnight Suns or something, has to be like a Venom-led show. And this book always interested me as well too. Like, what's the first book that had a second print? This has got to be a really early book to have a second print, right?
Pretty early.
Yeah.
Pretty early.
Like, not very many books back then in the 70s got second prints. Although I think this is like, 5 years later that they did the second print? Something weird. It's like not even close to the same time, but interestingly enough. All right, numbers though. You got to know about the numbers. Is it time to start sucking?
Wow. Anyways, it was bat-tastic a year ago. Versus CGC 9.2, it was $2,995. Now it just sucks. Ha ha ha. That was my punchline. He stole it from me. $1,500 is a 9.2 price as of right now. Range 1,442 to 2,995. Average sale is $2,055. It's a 50% drop. Pretty large. A 9.8 has sold for $26,400. You could have got that about 10 years ago for about 8 or 9,000. So you could have made a hefty profit.
Still expensive even for 10 years ago on that book.
Yeah, pretty dang expensive. There's 6,625 total graded. Only 38 of them are 9.8. So that's less than 1% of total graded. I will say in higher grades, there seems like to be an uptick. But it's hard to get this book at a higher grade. So 9.2 is just about where the right amount of numbers that made sense to go off of. And that's why we're saying this book has dropped. But not in a 9.8 or 9.6 price, just to be clear. I think right now, it's still a really expensive book. If this is one of your grails, go after it. But as of right now, you might want to wait a little longer. But I could be wrong. Definitely, if you're considering getting it, definitely get it raw because you can get a nice grade if you're able to keep an eye out for the defects and all that. And you might be able to save a little bit of what's it called, shekels? Cheddar cheese.
Yeah, I think what you say there's only like 38 9/8 on the census. Yeah, it's low to get a 9/8 on this one. But I will say, as someone that has hunted for this book, it is significantly cheaper than it's ever been raw. Like, I mean, this used to be something like I'm not going to pay $400 to $500 raw for this book. Okay, and number one on the list. This brings us all the way back. We started out talking about Madam Web. We got a little sidetracked in the middle with all this other stuff. Let's go right back to Madam Web again. We got Amazing Spider-Man 637. This came out in 2010. And Oliver Coipel, Joe Kelly. You know Joe Kelly?
Joe Kelly, I love that guy.
He's the guy that made Deadpool cool. Before that, Deadpool was not as cool as he was until Joe Kelly.
That's right.
But this book is kind of like the quintessential Madam Web movie book. I mean, there's a bunch of other good ones. You could get like first Julia Carpenter, first Aranya, first Madam Web, any of these, first Ezekiel to go along with this Madam Web. But this book kind of has it all. So if you really watch Madam Web and you enjoy it, this is the number one drop book of the week. And what I mean by that is, so this is a massive amount of first appearances and was pretty expensive like last year when we were looking at this. I think we had one at one time, a couple maybe.
We sold it on the high.
Yes! First appearance of Kane as the Tarantula, which Kane is an older clone of Peter Parker. He actually was like a crappy version, so he was like degenerating, like kind of slowly rotting away as a clone. Very cool character. He's kind of like an anti-hero, sort of like he wants to help Peter, but when he does help, he's like, if that guy pisses off Peter, I'm just going to kill that guy. He later on becomes a really major character in the whole Spider-Verse series. He's actually like one of the important people in the prophecy. But when he becomes a tarantula, he gets really cool. He has like this really awesome red and black costume. It's really exciting.
Okay.
Anyway, there's also the death of Madam Web. She actually dies. The original first Madam Web gets killed in this story, which leads to more stuff. There's actually 3 major deaths in this book. Sasha Kravinoff, the daughter of Craven, gets killed, as well as Grim Hunter, who's the son of Craven, also gets killed. So a bunch of people are getting just gutted in this. Pretty sure Kane kills both of them. If the people are getting killed, they're getting killed by Kane.
Sasha the mother of Anna Kravinoff?
Maybe you're right.
Okay. I was like, wait, the daughter? I thought it was Anna.
Is it the mother?
I think it's the mother.
The mother? Okay.
I could be wrong.
All right.
I'm pretty sure.
Fixed it. Anyway, Julia Carpenter becomes the new Madam Web.
Ooh.
So as well, and Anya Corazon becomes the new Spider-Girl. All in the same book. So all these like major milestones happening. I believe she doesn't actually take on the monocle of Spider-Girl until later on in Young Allies, but they offer her the title, like you're going to be Spider-Girl now. So pretty cool book. A lot of big stuff going on with it. That's why from this point forward, you always have Julia Carpenter as Madam Web, and I think it makes a lot of sense. She was always a cool character when she popped up, but was kind of like an unneeded character. You're like, hey, we already have Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman. Like, why did you create another Spider-Woman? Although it has a really cool costume. It was just kind of weird. And when they do a lot of stuff later on, she's kind of like, I don't really belong here. You know, whenever she shows up when like a team up or something like that, she's like, like this world doesn't really make sense. And then you start adding in all these new characters like Silk and Spider-Gwen and there's too many. So they're just like, hey, let's switch her completely. Now she's bad. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, got the movie comes out this weekend. Actually, I'll let Zach give you the numbers and then we'll chat about it. We'll chat. The numbers on this book. This is a good time. Should you even care about this?
A 9.8 is $230. It's web test. I don't know. I'm not doing it. Anyways, $230. Now, $104. You can pick one up for $104. You could have picked it for as low as $42 and for as high as $230. Average sales 129. That's a 55% drop. There's only 277 total graded. 154 of them are 9.8s. That's 56% total graded. That's a lot. That's a lot. There are a couple variants out there, so you want to get the rarest variant you can in 9.8. I do think for $104, I do think you should pick this up. I mean, who knows? This could be one of those like classic Spider-Man universe, whatever grails that people will go after in the near future. So be ahead of the crowd, and that's how you get those gains.
Yeah, Michael Lark, I think, has the second print, is the most valuable version of this, besides cover A. So if you're looking to get those more rare ones, that would be maybe the one to look out for, the second print. So movie comes out this weekend. I haven't checked any of the numbers. I mean, everybody from the original viewing of the trailer, I think everyone was pretty much in agreement that it looked pretty bad. Like everyone's like, oh my God, this looks horrible. Take a second look. Like I said, we're going to go see it this week sometime. We'll give you guys a review, our honest update review during our live show on Wednesday. One of the Wednesday shows, probably not this one. We'll let you know how we feel about it. I'm trying to go into this with a little bit of like an open mind. I rewatched some of the trailers again to see how I feel about it. A lot of people were upset because like Ezekiel looks a lot too much like Spider-Man. He never really does that in the comics. He does have Spider-Man's powers though. Like he does have the same powers as Spider-Man. So if you didn't know that, he does stick around and jump to walls, but he usually isn't ever wearing a costume. And in the books, Morlun is the one that actually like hunts the spider characters and is the one that's trying to absorb them, that's kind of how it looks that Ezekiel's doing the show. I don't want to like, guess exactly what's happening in the things, but there's a lot of really top-notch actors and actresses that are going to be in this movie. So that could turn out to be something good, like Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, Isabella Merced, as well as like a bunch of other great people that are going to be in this. The other thing too is you have to remember, when as comic book people and us knowing the story, we're all like, it needs to be exactly like the comics, otherwise like we're upset about it. It doesn't make any sense. Like if Ezekiel is playing Morlun and then these characters, why is Madam Web not an old lady? Why is she young? Then we'd already know the story. Then what would be the point of going to watch this movie? You know what I mean? Like you go to see it and you're like, I know exactly what the plot's going to be. I know exactly how this is going to end. The nice thing is maybe they're changing all this to surprise us so that the story like I have no idea what this is going to be about going into this, which may be a little bit better for us, you know. I'm going to go in with low expectations, but it could be good. I don't know. What do you think, Zach?
I think, and my opinion is way better. No, not joking. Anyways, I think that it's going to be better audience-wise than what a lot of people think. I think the audience is going to like it. The critics are probably not going to like it. I think the story is going to go pretty smooth, but it's not going to be like, oh my God, this is a classic movie that you can watch over and over and over again. Like The Count of Monte Cristo. But I think the audience is going to like this. I think some of the characters, at the very least, are going to be fun, reoccurring characters in the Spider-Man universe.
Yeah, and I read some stuff that Sydney Sweeney was actually really excited about playing this character, where she actually wanted to hang upside down a bunch, of telling the director, like, in the scene, my character should be hanging upside down, because she's reading through all the comics, and we're like, Julia Carpenter hangs upside down a lot. So.
A lot.
And I like some of the parts, if you look a little deeper into the trailer, where they're doing like she gets the little premonition of like what's going to happen, sort of like in Final Destination, where she, like, it's a little like glimpse of the future and then has to like go back and like fix it. We all like those movies. So like there's a good, and those weren't like, you know, Oscar award winning films. So you may like this one. I think we may kind of like those movies with all the blood and gore, which we're probably not going to get that in Madam Web, but could still be cool nonetheless. We just have to make sure the interaction between the actresses and stuff isn't too cheesy.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's going to destroy this movie. It's like too goofy.
I do want them to do like, when they're talking to Julia, camera swoops away because someone else talks to her. Well, like, what's over there? And it goes back, she's just hanging upside down. I think that would be kind of funny.
Yeah.
That would be kind of fun. Why are you hanging upside down? I don't know.
And yeah, and hopefully it doesn't ruin it by having too many of these spider characters in it all at one time. It's a little, I mean... It's going to be really hard to like give them all the proper like origin service that they're going to need when you have like, I think there's up to like 5 Spider-Women in this. Like Maddie Franklin's even in this too. So it's like how are they going to, there's like all of a sudden going to pop in like, hey, all of us already had spider powers and where everything's cool. You know, like just go along with it. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of weird. It'd almost be nice if they did them all individually and then brought them together for one movie at the end. But I feel like everyone's trying to capitalize on that like Avengers thing where like, if we have a whole bunch of heroes in one movie, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, that wraps up the show for this week, guys. Do us a huge favor right now and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when we're going live on Wednesday. We will do a live review of this movie. We'll let you know how we really feel after we watch it sometime this week. Give you guys a heads up whether you should check it out. But I really think if we're all big comic book fans, we should kind of go out and support our comic book movies. Don't waste your money. If you really don't want to see it, don't waste your money on it. But if you want to continue to get comic book movies and help increase the prices of your books, you should try to support some of these. And, you know, it's only going to benefit us in the long run, you know, everybody. So
you definitely don't want to go straight to DVD.
Or they don't do that anymore.
Especially VHS.
Do they still do straight to DVD?
I think so. It's probably straight to Blu-ray, but yeah, that's the whole joke. It went straight to DVD. Before that was VHS.
Anyway, you got anything else, Zach, to wrap us up before we go?
You gotta share how you do that. You just gotta squat down a lot. You gotta like squat down when you use the bathroom. Use a squatty potty. You know, you want to squat down and scrub the floors, and you know why? Because then it makes you have buns of steel. And nobody hates buns of steel. My next new movie, Buns of Steel. Watch it now. I was like, what?
I don't want to see that movie.
What?
All right, guys. Until we see you next time, stay safe and remember.
Get those bun gains.
Get 'em.
Every single one.
Peace.